Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of Why Did I Lose? The Prismata series in which I analyze games submitted by viewers and tell you why I think you lost. The call for submissions for replays for this series is over. This video is going up after the deadline that I set for submitting replays to be analyzed. I may well do this series again sometime, another instance of this series where I ask for more replays, but for now, no more replay requests in this playlist, please. If by the time you're watching this I've started another call for submissions, there'll be another video on my channel telling you all about it. So, let's see. What do we have here? This is submitted by Prismata player PerpetualBlur, who asks, I'm not sure how to play this game better. I'm pretty sure I lost in the economy stage, but not sure how. So let's do what we always do. Analyze the advanced set, play a game against MasterBot, and then watch the replay. So, what's noteworthy here? First, look for big absorbers. Are there any? No. Shredder can absorb a little bit more than a wall, but not for long, right? Typically, Shredder gives you less absorb than wall, not more, because they can target it. Even though on occasion you can absorb 3 with it. That's a pretty niche thing. Polywall is not good absorb, but it is good soak, right? So it will make the game... It will tend to make the game a bit higher on the econ side than like if you just removed Polywall from this set, for example. Urban Sentry is likely to be our main absorber here. So the number of drones we're going to want, well, this assumes we're getting green-blue, which who knows, maybe we're not. But if we are, this will be a fine absorber. Otherwise, it'll probably be like walls. So I guess what I would say is this set has a lot of soak, right? All of these bottom 5 units are pretty good at just producing extra hit points, extra health. They don't give you extra absorb, so you can't take more damage, every turn just by building a thing once. But if you're building any of this stuff somewhat regularly, you will have a lot of extra health for your opponent to chew through, so you can the game can go on a bit longer. So that will bias things a bit towards the higher economy side, but not as much as, say, even Infusion Grid. If we took out all 5 of these units and added Infusion Grid, we'd probably have a higher number of drones. Also noteworthy, Asteri kind of produces soak a little bit because of the barriers. But I don't really see us getting Asteri here. There's no other real compelling reason to get a lot of green, and it's going to be hard to have enough economy that this is playable. I feel like Asteris would lose to, I don't know, most stuff here, although I'm not sure exactly what. How are the attackers in this set? They're not great, right? Asteri is really the only good one. Immolite's fine. Urban Sentry is fine. Shredder, sort of can be played a little bit sometimes. So there's honestly nothing really dominating in this set that tells me you have to do a particular thing. And so I think I'd like to aim for something that just sort of happens to fit well. What's convenient tech for player 1 to build? Probably, well, before that, we talked briefly about how much defense there is in the set, because that's going to guide our economy size. So what is the conclusion on that front? How many drones are we likely to want this game? With no absorber bigger than wall, you typically want somewhere between 9 at the absolute lowest number of drones to maybe 17 would be the most you would get in a set like this. With no absorb. That's a pretty wide range. I think you could aim both for the low end with like red, or for the high end of that with Polywall and Urban Sentry. Just a matter of what happens to fit conveniently. Like, I think our main attacker is probably Tarsiers, right? Tarsiers and Immolites. So I think that I just want to build double drone, double drone, double drone Animus, right? And then, like, that's enough economy that I can throw in some blue at some point to get access to Polywall or Shredder, as well as a wall. And we'll just build, like, Tarsiers, Perforators, Immolites. Maybe someday I'll get a green, but I don't think so. And that's leaving us at, like, 13 drones, about. Which is a very comfortable number to have to be spending, like, blue, red, red. 13 is pretty good for that. If we ever had time to fit in a green, it would be nice to get an Urban Sentry, but probably not. I don't see Mobile Animus getting much play. You could, like, turn 3 Blast Forge Mobile Animus drone for some reason, but I don't think that's a good idea. You want to produce a lot of red attackers since they're the only good ones in the set. I wonder what player 2 is going to do, actually. I would not be at all surprised to see a turn 2 Animus. Immolites kind of make it a bit better to be able to get... yeah. I think turn 2 Animus is the right idea. The relatively cheap red stuff means it'll be a little bit easier for him to eventually build up enough economy to get access to blue as well. So something you can do if you anticipate a turn 2 Animus being good from player 2 is you can build a turn 2 Animus yourself. Just like no drones on turn 2 and Animus. If the set is very aggressive, that can be like the best way to deal with the fact, like, if player 2 is going to be in a very strong position after turn 2 Animus, you can try to undercut them. It's not a strong opening, but sometimes it, can be the best way to prevent player 2 from getting a strong opening. Here, I don't think this is that kind of set. There's pretty good soak, and there's reason to have more economy to get some blue, so I was not interested in building an Animus on turn 2. We might get, like, Tarsier Perforator here. The Perforator is basically a defender. On the other hand, I don't have 13 drones yet, right? Maybe I shouldn't get the Blast Forge yet. I was thinking, like, the Perforator, okay, it threatens to attack, making the opponent want to build a wall. It probably doesn't actually attack, it just, defends, and that's good. I want an Absorber, right? And it lets me squeeze in a Blast Forge. All of these are things that I want. But 12 drones is going to be a tiny, tiny bit uncomfortable, isn't it? Because usually with red, a single Blast Forge and a single Animus, you want like about 13 to build wall, Tarsier, Tarsier. Fits pretty well. On the other hand here, 12 is fine. I could build wall, Tarsier, Immolite or something like that, right? Somewhat reliably. Wall, Tarsier, Perforator, whatever. Shredder, whatever. There's a lot of... I think 12 is probably fine. This is kind of giving up on Polywall, though. If I build a Blast Forge here, I'm never going to have enough drones that Polywall is going to be good. Well, I don't know. I could start using my red to fuel Perforators, and then I wouldn't be so overteched, and I could maybe buy like a Polywall and an Immolite or something. So maybe this is the right idea with the Blast Forge. The Perforator will be available to help me like deal with overteching. Yeah, okay, let's try that. Okay, so he built a wall. He built this Animus on turn 2 and has spent 2 turns not building anything red. Like, this is sort of classic Masterbot awful play. But what can you do, right? I think I will get a Shredder here. This generally like is too early for a shredder, right? The problem with shredder is that the opponent, when they get to 4 attack, they can deny you absorb. And usually by the time you're building a shredder, the opponent has a little bit of attack, and so it's kind of like not hard for them to get to 4. Here, though, Masterbot is so far behind on attack that I think I will build one just as a cheap attacker. And then when I defend with it, I'll lose a little bit of value. Oh well, no big deal. Oh, Polymall. For some reason I didn't think of that. I don't know, I guess because it's not good, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're threatening 5 next turn, so we just need to add a tiny bit of extra attack. Another Shredder doesn't feel great, but I guess it's fine. And we'll just keep doing this. This way I don't need to click the Perforator to attack for 6, or I can hold the Shredder, whichever is more convenient. Now the Perforator defends quite nicely, and I can, like, I don't know, keep doing this. How much? 6, 7, I threaten 8. Sure. Okay, so we're not going to learn a lot from this playthrough, is my suspicion here. Right, he is actually keeping the Immolite. Let's build a wall now. Ah, this kills the Immolite, of course. Very good. Well, I don't need the wall too badly. I guess I do. Let's just build a Tarsier and a drone, since we are spending our red on that Perforator click. So what we're really learning here is not really how to win the game, but just like what seemed like a playable opening from me. Roughly the economy size we want, the kinds of attackers we want to build. Now we're going to start losing shredders. Oh well. Throw in 1 extra drone so I can build steel splitters instead of shredders soonish. Since I was spending the red on Perforator clicks again. I can click these 4 to kill... I don't have to click all of them. I can do this. And now he has to lose the force field, and I don't need to click the Perforator, so that means I can build like 2 Tarsiers and a Splitter. We're far enough ahead to make greedy plays like all these Tarsiers. Masterbot should resign in the next couple of turns. Okay, here he goes. So, let's see what happened in... Just make sure I have the game in my paste buffer. In the game. So, PerpetualBlur is player 1, playing against Thoth. And let's see what the players get up to here. We build double drones, yep. Conduit first. Sure, that also seems fine. Yeah, I like that opening. Now we get a Blast Forge for Xeno, or Urban Sentries, I guess. Tarsier Perforator Drone. This extra drone is fine. It's not what I did in my game, and I don't think that that makes it wrong by any means. You don't necessarily need a 13th drone, but getting one instead of a Blast Forge could be fine. The opponent's not really threatening a lot of attacks, so you don't need the blue right away. Sure. Although if you're clicking Perforator, you probably want to build a Defender. Yeah, that's actually something to think about. Is here on this turn we decided not to build a Blast Forge. the opponent is sort of like saying very loudly that they're going to get an Urban Sentry, right? Which means we're planning to click this Perforator. That's fine, but means we don't have a defender right now. So we should have a plan for getting some defense on the next turn to absorb the Urban Sentry's attack. There are two reasonable looking ways to do that. One would be to get a Rhino next turn, and the other would be to get a Blast Forge this turn for a wall next turn, or Polywall if you think that's a good idea, although I don't. We just don't have enough drones for Polywall to be very good. So I think that of those plans, Rhino seems fine, and you'll have some extra money next turn because you'll only be spending one red, which means you can fit in a Blast Forge pretty well next turn. Alternatively, you could fit in a Blast Forge this turn and only have one red and one blue next turn. So like, if we built a Blast Forge now, we'd have 10 bucks, 12 bucks, and we could then like Rhino Splitter, for example, or Rhino Shredder. Which all seem fine to me. But yeah, it's not the end of the world to get this drone here, and as long as, I think it is better to build a Rhino here than, like, okay, you get this extra drone, but I think we're already at like the high side number of drones, what we want here. So building this Tarsier instead of Rhino to squeeze in more drones, I don't much care for. You could also hold the Perforator click, but I think that's pretty bad. I would rather deal 1 damage to both of us. Well, I don't know. I mean, if we're planning not to build a defender, then this Perforator click is just trading NGs, right? Do I want to trade NGs? I don't know. I guess it's okay. Neither side feels way more vulnerable than the other. I guess if anything, we're a bit more vulnerable because we have red and he has sentries. So if we're not building an absorber, I think I'd actually hold the Perforator here. But I would prefer instead to like cut drone Tarsier and build a Rhino so that we actually are defending, and then we can click this in good conscience. I do agree with getting the Blast Forge here. You know, walls and shredders are good. But a few too many drones. The ways that you're spending red in this set are also cheap, that I don't think you need 15 is what I'm getting at, right? 13 is really the high end of what you're... Maybe 14 for like Tarsier Splitter is like the most you're going to be spending in a single turn. And you might very often spend less if you're like clicking a Perforator. So I don't think we need 15 drones. This would be, like, you could say, oh, I'm trying to get to polywalls, or I'm trying to add in a conduit. And then, okay, yeah, you might need the 15 drones. Although not really, because Urban Sentry doesn't cost any more than Shredder, once you already have the conduit. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't like this last drone here. The enemy gets another Urban Sentry and adds an Animus. They're up to 16 drones, which is looking like, I mean, Tarsier Sentry is like their general plan. Maybe get Shredders someday once we have enough attack that they're not bad. Alright, we're adding a... Well, alright, let's look at the turn he actually played. He built a Splitter. Alright, I like that better than the Conduit. Although, isn't Wall even better? I don't know. We're holding back the Perforator anyway, and so Wall only really absorbs 1. But we're gonna be so low on engineers, this makes me nervous. I think it would probably be good to cut this Tarsier to build one of the 3-cost red attackers. Doesn't super matter which one, I don't think. Does it? I mean, Immolite you'd be building as an attacker, and Perforator you'd be building as a defender. And I guess it's a little bit too early to be building Perforator as a defender. So I guess I would cut the Tarsier for an Immolite. And that lets you squeeze in an Engineer, which is going to help a lot, because next turn you're going to be in a pretty uncomfortable position with this Engineer dying. The enemy can attack you for 3, and like your only defender is Steel Splitter, what exactly do you do? I guess you could build a Husk, but that feels pretty bad. I'd rather just get the Engineer now. Okay, we're just, yeah, this is, ugh. So this is why we needed more granularity. I feel like also we're building a lot of Tarsiers. They're fine attackers, but, you know, so is Immolite. I used to, like, just hate building Immolites because it just struck me as something you would only do in really degenerate positions. Like, you're getting a 25% discount on a 50% less damage attacker, right? Which sounds pretty awful. But the fact that Immolite doesn't have build time 2 is really substantial. Immolite costs less than Tarsier, and on the turn that you build it, it does more than Tarsier. It attacks for 1 while Tarsier is busy attacking for 0. On turn 2, they equalize because the Immolite's resting and the Tarsier's attacking. On turn 3, they're still equal because they're both attacking. And only finally on turn 4 does Immolite start doing less than Tarsier. But in the meantime, like, you had your earlier pressure and you had some extra gold available to spend. And so, like, once the game gets past the pretty early stages, Immolite tends to be a better attacker than Tarsier. And so I wouldn't feel bad at all about replacing a Tarsier with an Immolite to let me get better defense. Obviously Tarsiers are better when they're your first attackers because the Immolite attack is just going to run into a wall and look stupid, right? Or in this case, an Urban Sentry. But last turn, we were already well at the position where an Immolite attack would not be wasted. And so I think it would be an improvement over Tarsiers. Ooh, yikes, that's a pressure turn. Did I skip? I don't know. This turn here was like, fine, whatever. Build a wall, seems good. Tarsiers, NGs, sure, I guess. Now the enemy is suddenly putting on a ton of pressure. Oh, Polywall. That's pretty cool. Wow, that defends perfectly. Yeah. No, take that back. No husks, bad. We should build attackers. Whether they... I think you should get 2 of these units. You have, like... This is the advantage of building those extra drones that I didn't like, right? Is that you can build Polywall and actually do things on the same turn, which is an option I didn't really have. And you should take advantage of that by doing things. Husk is... At the moment, you have enough defense and you're perfectly granular, right? So a Husk is not really needed to defend the current turn. It would only help you on the next turn. Which means that Husk is basically just an engineer here. And so it may look like by buying Husk you are spending your red and isn't that nice. You're really just buying an engineer and throwing the red in the garbage. Which, you know, sometimes that's what you need to do, but here I don't see why we should do it. I'd rather build, like, let's say 1 Immolite and 1 Perforator. We'll want to defend with the Perforator, probably, and have the Immolite for attack. Or maybe we'll attack with the perforator, although I don't think that's true. Anyway, we have exactly $6, which is these things perfectly, and we're not yet in such a dire situation that we need a ton of extra defense, right? Like, I don't know, the opponent's attacking for 8 even after the Immolites go out, and probably more than that. You know, now that I look at it, it's actually pretty sad, isn't it? Our position. But he's probably going to have to buy a Polywall to avoid losing Urban Sentries on the next turn, and so he won't be adding that much more attack. Or at least he'll have to buy a wall. So, yeah, I don't know. Immolite Perforator seems better at this point. Cut the Husk, build an Immolite. Yeah, he can't add much attack. That's nice to know. We target that down. Yeah. Perforator, huh? I guess that's fine. We're going to be defending with it soon. Yeah, I agree with that, NG. Yep. This looks like a good turn. Now... the enemy is losing 1 attack, so this does defend. And I like that we're building Perforators while the enemy is building Rhinos. Perforators are definitely better if you can get away with it. Our main downside is that we have these 8 Tarsiers while the enemy has 7 permanent attackers. Well, okay, we have... the enemy has 8 permanent attackers to go with, which offsets our 8 Tarsiers pretty well. We have a Steel Splitter, which basically makes up for these 2 Immolites. Our Perforators are probably ahead of the game compared to these Rhinos. The main advantage the opponent has is access to green, which means that they have a few advantages. Namely, like, first, that they have a lot of defensive tempo available, saved up, you know, some potential energy, you might say, saved up in these Urban Sentries. When it comes time to defend a bit more compared to attacking, it'll be much easier for the opponent because of Urban Sentry. Now, our Perforators are serving a similar role, but in order to defend with them, we have to not attack with them, whereas the Urban Sentries can do both, which is definitely a point in their favor. But I think more than any of that is that the opponent has 5 green in the bank. Slightly more drones as well means they can build polywalls more comfortably. So, I mean, I think the opponent is probably ahead here. Mostly because of all this green. Because otherwise they'd have to start losing Urban Sentries pretty soon, and it seems like we can defend reasonably well as we've been doing. Yeah, here come the force fields. Don't like this Tarsier. If you're force fielding, it's probably too late in the game for Tarsiers, and like just Immolites or Perforators would be better. Ooh, double Perforator click. I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong, it just like feels bad because now we don't have any red. Yeah. And the enemy's Husk really could have just been an engineer, although I guess it doesn't matter. They didn't have anything much to do with the red. Now this Rhino is defending. I don't know, what are we doing this turn? I really would love to get some Perforators. Yeah, I see, okay. Alright, so we're basically like in a cycle right now where we are building a Polywall and a Perforator and an Engi every turn. That's what, 10, 13, 15? That's exactly the number of drones we have. So we're basically just doing this forever. Is that gaining us advantage, or is it costing us? Like, how's the opponent doing every turn? We're attacking for about 10 in this cycle, right? 1 Perforator, 8 of these, and this guy. How's the enemy defending 10? Well, they can build a Polywall, absorb here. That's already taken care of 8. They just have to find 2 extra defense, and they have $6 left, so they can build like 2 husks and or 2 NGs or perforator. Yeah, 2 perf. So the enemy's sort of getting ahead, and that's even on a turn when like they don't have their immolites. On a turn where they do have immolites, it's even worse, I think, for us. So in this position, I think we're definitely behind. Is the game over yet? Ooh, maybe. It's hard to see us coming back, actually. It's pretty easy for the enemy to keep pressure, and like they're adding Tarsiers. I think we have pretty much lost by here. The question is, how did we get here? We went for like the first mover advantage on attackers, but we didn't actually end up with that many more attackers. Is this because we built too many drones? I'm not sure. Obviously the opponent built more drones than we did, but they have more tech. They have a different plan than we do. Did we build too many drones for our plan? If we had cut this drone here for the Blast Forge, as I was suggesting, I don't think that's necessarily like amazing, but it seems like a playable thing you could do. We could have gotten out an earlier Shredder. And right, like Shredder, I would have $12. That's like Shredder, Perforator, Tarsier or something. Shredder, Immolite, Tarsier. You kind of want the Rhino though, right, to defend. So you want to click the... I guess we're just... No, because we if you click the Perforator, then you can build a Rhino. Yeah, so I guess Shredder, Rhino, nothing. We would have a bit... We would have our attack a bit earlier and be putting the opponent under enough pressure that they might have a hard time continuing to drone and build these urban sentries and tech into red. So I think given that we started with red first, we maybe built a few too many drones. I also, as I mentioned, don't like the defense on turns 5 and 6. So built a few too many Tarsiers, given that our plan was to be aggressive. And the defense on turn 7 is not great, but it's sort of like because of what happened on turn 6. I don't know. Cutting this Tarsier for a Husk is actually pretty good, because right now a Husk is the same as a Perforator, right? It's a Perforator that you can build for 2 instead of for 3, and like that's pretty disgusting. Yeah. So I think this Tarsier is wrong. If we cut this and the NG and build a Husk, we'd have $7. Husk is... Yeah, we could maybe throw in a Conduit here. I don't know about that. Maybe just more NGs or something. I don't know. Yeah, so, okay, what was the turn where I concluded we're already lost? I think it was about here? Yeah, it was right here is what we were looking at. The enemy just added these Immolites now to make things even worse. And we're having to build Rhinos to defend? Question mark? What's this Rhino about? Why are we building a Rhino? The enemy's attacking for 13. 6, 8, 12, 13. Isn't a Rhino just like... Its promptness isn't doing you any good. So it really should just be a Perforator? It's like a Perforator that costs 5? Ugh. I don't get it. What's the Rhino all about? It's not like having access to all this, like... I mean, okay, I guess it's letting us attack with both these things and still build a husk? But do we really want to do that? I don't know, maybe. I guess it's pressuring the opponent a bit. I still don't love it. Oh, alright, we're finally making the opponent lose an attacker, which is a perforator. But, I mean, we're in pretty sad shape. They've just got so much more attack. And they have green for when things get bad. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's going to go on for a while, but then the game's over. So I don't think we need to pay much attention to what happened after, like, turn 11 or something. Even before that, I think we were dead. So, I would say... part of the reason in this set that you would go red... Now, I think green-blue is also fine. And as player 2, yeah, go green-blue. It fits really well into your tech. Urban Sentry is good. As player 1, I do like the Animus on turn 3, although you could convince me that something green-blue would be better. Somehow. It just doesn't fit in as well. But part of the reason that Animus is good is you have these Immolites and Perforators, right? These cheap red attackers, and we didn't build enough of them. We spent too much on Tarsiers, which meant we sort of lost the advantage of building attackers quickly. Because the Tarsiers take so long to arrive, the opponent has time to continue building their economy. We made a few defensive slip-ups. It's not clear how much impact that had. Definitely cost us some health. But really the problem was that, like, we were under... I don't know. If we had some more health, would we have been able to build some more attack using the tempo that we gained from that? Maybe. Would it have been enough? I don't know. It feels like the opponent was actually pretty far ahead with these... I don't know. I mean, I say pretty far ahead, but really their main advantage was just, like, 2 Immolites. Which is kind of like a Tarsier. Maybe a Tarsier and a couple of these drones. I don't know, and a Conduit. Actually, they're pretty far ahead. So I think if you're going to go red, you need to go a bit more aggressive. Build more Immolites to keep the opponent under pressure. Make them pay for these extra drones they're building. I think they may well come out ahead anyway, because like green and blue are pretty good here with Urban Sentry, Force Field, and Polywall. It might have been nice to try to sneak in a Shredder at some point, but there was never really a very good opportunity, I don't think. Yeah. Perforators fill a similar role. They're efficient defenders that threaten to attack. Sure. And you have a lot more red to work with. You need your blue for more urgent things. That's fine, I guess. Yeah, so, okay. A few too many drones. A few too many Tarsiers. And not thinking far enough ahead on defense are the main objections I have to this game. Overall, it doesn't seem like an awful attempt by any means. Sort of similar to what I wanted to do in, like, you're building red and blue stuff against the enemy's green and blue, and it didn't do anything too tragic on defense. Okay, I don't know. I'm just sort of I'm stuck in a loop now. I'm just saying the same things over and over. So I guess we're gonna call it quits here, right? That sounds good to me. And you guys don't get a choice. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.